What if the deepest secret of existence was never hidden at all? What if it's been sitting right in front of you your whole life and nobody ever told you how to see it? Welcome back to Relax Silentra. Before we go deeper into this, if this idea already has your mind racing, hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow. Now let's begin. The knowledge of the 33rd degree isn't some story about secret clubs or dusty books locked away in hidden vaults. It's a thread that runs through all of human history, living inside every symbol, every number, every structure we've ever built since the beginning of time. Behind the pyramids, behind ancient carvings, behind mysterious rituals, there was never an attempt to hide this knowledge, only to protect it. The old ones understood that some truths are too strong to hand to just anyone. They wait for those who are truly ready, and that readiness has nothing to do with your title, your status, or your strength. It's a state of the spirit. When someone stops seeing themselves as small and separate from the world, when a tiny seed realizes it isn't just a speck of dust in the dirt, but an entire forest waiting inside it, that's when it can finally break out of the darkness. In the same way, the knowledge of the 33rd degree only shows itself to the souls who understand they are already part of the creative force, never cut off from the source of everything. Since ancient times, people have known how to hide this knowledge inside sacred shapes and patterns. The spiral of a seashell, the golden ratio in a flower's petals, the perfect structure of an ice crystal. All of it proves the universe follows one refined, unbreakable pattern. The Egyptians carved it into stone. The Greeks wrapped it inside philosophy. The people of India found it in sound and chant. And in every one of these civilizations, this knowledge was never announced out loud. It moved through symbols, through stories, through the quiet, passed from teacher to student, to those who were ready to receive it. Here's the important part. This power never came from outside you. It was never locked in a secret book. It never belonged to some exclusive group. It has always lived inside every human being, like a seed just waiting for the right day to grow. The knowledge of the 33rd degree reminds us that reality isn't fixed. It's a mirror faithfully showing back whatever your mind believes. What you think, what you believe, what you picture with total conviction, that becomes your life. Picture a master locksmith holding a key that opens every door there is. If you handed that key to someone who wasn't ready, it would cause chaos. But in the hands of someone truly awake, that same key becomes a tool for unlocking life, understanding, and endless creativity. The knowledge of the 33rd degree works the same way. It doesn't give you power to control other people. It wakes up the creative power that was already inside you, so you stop settling for old limits and start living from a higher place. The old masters used to say, "This power is not given, it must be claimed." That's why it's always here, waiting. And yet most people walk right past it. Humans tend to find comfort in the familiar cage of old beliefs instead of daring to step into the bigger light. Those who'd rather stay inside their limits will never grasp this power simply because deep down they don't want to. But for the seeker, the one bold enough to ask questions, to peel back the layers of stone and dirt hiding the truth, it will shine through bright and clear. Think about the story of the sculptor named Milo. He kept adding layer after layer of clay, hoping a masterpiece would appear. But the beauty never showed itself, not until the day he started removing clay instead, bit by bit, layer by layer. That's when he realized the masterpiece had been there all along, just waiting to be uncovered. The power inside you works exactly the same way. It doesn't need anything added to it. It's already there, waiting for you to strip away the fear, the doubt, and the borrowed assumptions. The knowledge of the 33rd degree is realizing your job was never to search outward. It was to dig inward. This truth is so simple it almost sounds unbelievable. You are the creator of your reality. Not just a watcher, not just someone reacting to life. but the creator of it. The thoughts you plant in your mind, the beliefs you hold close to your heart, these are the very seeds of the world you walk through every day. The universe doesn't play favorites. It simply responds, the same way a desert doesn't choose which way the wind blows. It just reshapes itself around the breeze. The universe, too, bends to match the vibration you're putting out. So the only real question isn't whether this power exists. It always has. The real question is, are you ready to receive it? Are you willing to leave the cage of your own limits and fly into the open sky? Are you brave enough to shed the shell of safety and show your true self, bare but glowing? If your answer is yes, then the journey has already started. Once that door opens, there's no going back to the old ignorance. You can't pretend to forget what you've seen, and you can't return to living inside illusions you once believed were real. The knowledge of the 33rd degree is where every spiritual teaching meets the peak of human potential. It's the merging of reason and soul, of shape and essence. It's the echo of the universe ringing inside your own heart, whispering that it's time to remember who's really writing this story. And once you realize that, you're no longer a victim of what happens to you. You become the one holding the pen of your own life. Listen closely, because right now, in this very moment, you are standing at that threshold. There's no need to search anywhere else. No need to wait for someone else to show you the way. Just turn your attention inward, toward the river of energy that has never run dry, toward the flame that has never gone out. The knowledge of the 33rd degree doesn't promise an easy road. It asks for courage, because you have to remove the old layers you once believed were you. But in exchange, it hands you the power to become your fullest, most powerful, freest self. This isn't a beginning in the ordinary sense, and it isn't an ending either. It's an unveiling. The moment you realize this knowledge has always lived inside you, you step into a different world, not a place, but a way of being. And in that state, you stop asking, is this possible? You start asking only, what will I create next? And right at this threshold, the endless journey begins. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because every real transformation in life comes with its own doorway. Not a gate made of stone or wood, but an invisible line drawn by the mind itself. People spend their whole lives walking in circles, trapped by habit, by beliefs handed down from people before them, by limits programmed into them long ago. But every once in a while, there's a moment, however brief, when the soul hears something calling, when you sense that something exists beyond the veil you've always known. That's the moment you're standing at the sacred threshold. Not everyone crosses it. Many turn back, choosing the safety of the old, narrow, familiar world. They accept the comfort of a soft cage over the wide open sky. Because crossing this threshold isn't just a decision. It's the death of the old you and the birth of a new one. That's exactly why it becomes the ultimate test of courage. Nobody forces you. Nobody pushes you forward. It's just you, alone, facing the choice to step in or step back. The old sages used to warn that once you've glimpsed the threshold, you can't pretend you never saw it. That glimpse will haunt you, stir you, leave you restless with a life that once felt like enough. That restlessness isn't weakness. It's a calling. Nobody ever finds real freedom without first feeling trapped by their own chains. The sacred threshold only shows up when you're ready to shed your shell of safety. It doesn't come too early, and it doesn't come too late. It appears the exact moment your awareness has gathered enough experience, enough wounds, enough longing to finally break through. Picture a tiger born inside a cage. It grows up believing that cage is the entire world. Then one day the door cracks open. It sees the wide sky stretching out beyond it. Fear rushes in. The outside world is endless, but undefined. The inside is confined but familiar. In one single moment, it must decide. Step out and become itself, or shrink back and stay a prisoner of illusion forever. The sacred threshold in front of you works exactly the same way. It doesn't promise comfort. It offers you an invitation into a journey with no way back. What's actually frightening isn't what waits on the other side. It's that you must shed your old skin first, like a snake shedding its scales. It's painful but necessary. You too must let go of beliefs that no longer serve your growth. Every old belief is like a piece of clothing that no longer fits. If you don't take it off, you can't grow. And it's right here, at the threshold, that the real question shows up. Are you willing to leave behind not just your comfort, but the old identity you once believed was all of you? The sacred threshold is like a sunrise. Ahead of you stretches a horizon you've never seen, light breaking through the night. Step out and you'll feel the brightness of life. But first, you have to leave behind the darkness you grew used to. That light can't be denied. It only waits for you to open your eyes. And once you've seen it, you can never go back to that old darkness and pretend it brought you peace. Everyone who's crossed through shares one truth. The fear vanishes the moment the decision is made. Worry, hesitation, and doubt only exist before you walk through the door. Once you step through, you realize there's no abyss, only open sky. It's the hesitation that makes the threshold feel terrifying. But the truth is, it's only a mirage created by a mind that isn't ready to leap yet. There's one unshakable rule here. Real change always requires a firm choice. The universe doesn't respond to half measures, it only answers full, absolute commitment. If you hesitate, you'll stay on the sidelines forever. But the moment you say, I am ready, every door begins to open. This isn't magic coming from outside you. It's the meeting point of belief and action. Picture yourself standing in front of that door. Behind you is everything you've ever known. Ahead of you is a world your memory has never touched. You have no map, no promise of safety, only your gut feeling to guide you. In this moment, the choice is yours alone, to step forward or stay where you are. No one can make this decision for you. No one can carry this weight in your place, and no one can stop you once your will is truly set. The sacred threshold doesn't only appear once in your lifetime. Every new level of awareness comes with its own door. Every time you break through a limit, another door appears, calling you to go further. But the very first threshold is always the hardest, because it asks you to break the core belief that you are just a passenger in your own life. Once you cross it, you can never go back to that old role. You start living as a creator, not someone being controlled. This decision can't be pushed off forever. You might avoid it, you might forget about it for a while. But the call always comes back stronger because your very nature is to evolve. You weren't born to stand still, but to break through, to wake up new layers of awareness. Delay only stretches out the pain. Deciding opens the path to freedom. And that threshold is waiting for you right now, in this very breath. Feel it as if time has stopped. All the noise around you fades away. There's only you, and the door waiting in front of you. Stepping in requires no promises, no proof. It only takes one brave heartbeat, one single step. And once the door closes behind you, you'll know you've chosen the path with no way back. The path of truth, freedom, and power. Here's the secret. The sacred threshold never forces you. It simply stands there silent and patient, waiting for you. Real change never comes from the door itself, but from your decision. The moment you step in, that choice is what transforms you into someone new. From that point on, you're no longer just a seeker, you're a creator. And in the sacred stillness of that decision, your life opens to a brand new page, where every old limit becomes just a memory, and every possibility stretches out ahead of you. Now here's something most people never realize. There's a whole body of wisdom that used to be the foundation the world ran on, and it didn't disappear because it was destroyed. It vanished from view because it was hidden inside forms only a ready heart could understand. The ancient sages didn't write books to explain their truth. They wove it into symbols, into myths, into structures built to last forever, as if to say this truth isn't meant for a casual listener, but for the mind that knows how to listen in silence. Think of Egypt's carved stone walls, packed with what looks like religious symbols. But in truth, it was a language describing creation itself. Or the Greek philosophers, when they spoke about the cosmos. They weren't just talking about stars and matter, but about the deep connection between human awareness and unchangeable universal law. Over in the East, sages who lived alone in forests left behind strange writings, never meant to be taken word for word, but meant to unlock inner doors in whoever read them. All of them, in their own way, were saying the same thing. There's a treasure inside you, and only you can unlock it. When we say this knowledge was lost, it doesn't mean it disappeared. It's more like the universe's own way of filtering who's ready. Knowledge has never actually vanished. It just hides itself from eyes that aren't prepared yet. Because if someone doesn't know how to use their own inner power, handing them this wisdom would be like giving fire to someone who can't control it. It would burn instead of light the way. So the sages had no choice but to hide it beneath layers of symbols, so that only those with real determination, longing, and courage could peel it back and earn their reward. There's an old story of Rahim, a traveler who paused in front of a moss-covered temple where a blind sage sat waiting. The sage told him, "What you're looking for was never hidden. It's only covered by the illusions people create." Those words shook Rahim deeply because he suddenly understood that wisdom was never far away at all. It had always been so close. We overlook it every single day. It's the power of thought, the law of cause and effect, born from ideas, the mirror reflecting with total honesty every belief we hold in our hearts. This knowledge only seems lost because people get so obsessed with searching outside themselves, they forget the light that's already burning within. The true masters never taught people to pile things on. They taught people to strip things away. Just like the sculptor Milo, who didn't add clay. He removed it, revealing the masterpiece that was already there. A person's greatness never comes from what they stack on top of themselves, but from what they let go of. Limiting beliefs, hidden fears, hand-me-down assumptions passed down through generations. These are the clay covering your true essence. Once it's removed, the power reveals itself, and the lost knowledge returns like a torch that was never actually put out, only hidden from view. Look closely, and you'll notice this wisdom carved across every civilization on Earth. The golden ratio in architecture, the 5 elements in ancient medicine, yin and yang in Eastern thinking, the harmony inside sacred chants. All of them are pieces of one bigger picture. But when people forget the sacred meaning behind these things, they turn into superstition, into empty ritual. What was actually lost wasn't the symbols, it was the key to understanding what's behind them. To see this clearly, you need real stillness in your soul. When your mind grows quiet, you can hear an ancient rhythm echoing through every cell, every heartbeat. Because this lost wisdom was never written in books. It's carved into your own body and spirit. The double helix of your DNA, the rhythm of your breath, the symmetry of your eyes, each one is a perfect copy of the same unchanging laws the sages discovered long ago. You don't need to search through ancient tombs. You only need to turn inward and reflect. There's a deep truth hidden in all this. You can't learn this wisdom like you'd learn a formula. You can only remember it, the way a musician forgets a melody they once mastered, yet needs only one note to recall the whole song. This lost knowledge lives both in our collective memory and in the core of every single person. You don't have to gain it. You have to wake it up. And once you wake up, you're struck by the realization that you never really lost it at all. You might ask, if this wisdom is real, why does the world still drown in chaos? The answer is simple. Most people choose to live half asleep. They avoid looking too closely, seek comfort in what's familiar, and settle for illusions of their own making. But those who dare to face the truth, even when it's hard at first, find freedom. And it's those people who carry the torch of this lost wisdom back out into the world. You too are standing in that exact moment right now. The threshold has appeared. The wisdom is calling out. The only question left isn't whether it's real. It's whether you dare to look directly at it. Every thought you carry, every belief you hold, is a message you're sending out into the universe. You're creating your own reality every single day. You just haven't realized yet that you're the architect. But the moment you do, you'll understand the lost wisdom was never gone at all. It's been running through every heartbeat, every moment, just waiting for you to wake up and claim it. And here's the most important message of all. You can't stay exactly who you are and still receive this knowledge. It demands change. The old ego has to dissolve like morning fog under the rising sun, so your true self can finally emerge. When you let go, the ancient wisdom returns, not with thunder but with stillness, gentle yet powerful, like an underground river quietly feeding an entire field. The sages may have lost the exact words over time, but they never lost the truth. They left traces in every culture so that when humanity was finally ready, the path would reveal itself. And now, your time has come. This wisdom is no longer just folklore. It's living truth, waiting to be received. All you need to do is brush away the dust of your doubt. Open your heart and let yourself remember. Once that happens, you'll understand. Truth never actually disappears. Only people forget it. And the moment you remember, you become part of that eternal stream. Now let's talk about something even bigger. The invisible curtain hanging in front of your eyes every single day, and why most people never even notice it's there. The world you see every day isn't the whole truth. It's really just a veil. A thin but stubborn curtain hiding the infinite essence of life from your eyes. That veil is woven out of borrowed beliefs, inherited fears, and definitions other people handed you. You think it's a solid foundation, but really it's just a reflection, like shimmering shadows on the surface of water. What you call reality is mostly just a pattern of perception you've repeated so many times, you've come to believe there's nothing beyond it. This veil of illusion carries a strange kind of power. It traps you without any real chains. People grow up inside it, believe in it completely, and rarely ever question whether something might exist beyond it. They believe they're limited by their body, by time, by circumstances, when in truth their real essence isn't bound by any of those things at all. Illusion builds an invisible prison, and believing in it makes it feel more solid than any steel bar ever could. Picture a bird living inside a silver cage. Day after day it sings inside that tiny space, believing the sky goes no further than the bars around it. Then one day, the cage door swings open, unlocked, unguarded. But the bird doesn't fly out, because in its mind, freedom never existed in the first place. It has sentenced itself to a lifetime inside a prison that was only ever imagined. You're the same way. The limits you feel aren't real. They're only the result of what you believe. And once you understand that, you'll see the door was never locked to begin with. The old sages called this the veil of illusion. A thin mist standing between people and the truth. It isn't some outside force pressing down on you. It's a silent agreement you gave permission for. Every time you say, I can't, every time you believe something is impossible, you add one more thread to that veil. And once enough threads pile up, all you can see are walls. But if you dare to pause, to really look closely, you'll find the veil is fragile. One single moment of awareness is enough to dissolve it completely. True freedom isn't a gift handed to you from outside. It's the soul's original state. You were born free, just like a drop of water belongs to the ocean, like a ray of light belongs to the sun. No circumstance can ever truly take that away from you. Even when the body is locked up, the mind can still soar. History proves this again and again. There have been people locked behind bars who still wrote timeless works, who still burned with an inner fire, because they understood real freedom isn't found at the gates of a cell. It lives inside consciousness itself. The real danger of this veil is how it convinces you that power is out of your reach. You start believing happiness depends on other people, wealth depends on luck, Health depends on chance. That belief strips away your power and turns you into someone dependent on outside forces. But when the veil finally falls, you see clearly. Everything begins from within. The beliefs you carry in your mind are the blueprint for what shows up around you. Change the belief, and the world around you shifts in response. Enlightened people didn't invent freedom for the rest of us. They simply reminded us it was never lost. That's why they said the truth sets you free, because truth doesn't add anything new. It only strips away what's covering you up. And when that covering dissolves, freedom appears in its purest form, wide open, endlessly creative. You might ask, if freedom is already inside me, why do I feel so trapped? The answer is simple. Because you handed your power over to illusion. Like a dream, you got so caught up in it. You started believing it was real. You run. You fear. You struggle inside the dream, forgetting all you have to do is wake up for it to disappear. True freedom is exactly that, waking up. And it doesn't happen through some miracle. It happens through realization. Once you realize it, life takes on a whole new color. You still walk the same streets, still meet the same people, but your perspective has completely shifted. Instead of walls, you start seeing doors waiting to be opened. Instead of darkness, you see potential waiting to be lit. Instead of chains, you see reminders that you already hold the key. Nothing outside of you has actually changed, but your inner view has, and that changes everything. This veil of illusion isn't something to hate or fight against. It's actually a tool for growth. Through it, you learn to appreciate the value of freedom. Through captivity, you learn to long for release. Through darkness, light becomes even more glorious. So the next time you run into illusion, don't get angry. Be grateful, because it's the very thing pushing you toward reclaiming your own freedom. And here's the thing. You don't have to travel far to lift this veil. All it takes is a moment of stillness, one deep breath, one clear decision. The instant you stop believing in the chains, they disappear. The instant you dare open the door, the sky appears. And the instant you accept that freedom has always belonged to you, you start living differently, walking differently, seeing everything through completely new eyes. The real secret isn't finding some outside power. It's recognizing you already have it. The veil might cover your eyes, but it never covers the truth. Once your eyes are open, you'll see freedom everywhere. In the morning sunlight, in a child's laughter, in every heartbeat of your own. And once you've seen it, you can never go back. Nobody can convince you that you're trapped again, because you've already tasted the infinite. This veil only lasts until the moment you realize it's there. And once it falls, you'll see clearly. Freedom isn't something distant, not a prize you have to earn. It's your true nature. You have always been free, and your real journey only begins once you start living fully inside that freedom, no longer fooled by the fragile threads of illusion. If you're finding value in this so far, go ahead and subscribe and tap that bell. There's a lot more of this ahead, and you won't want to miss it. Now here's a law that shows up everywhere in nature, and once you notice it, you can't unsee it. Every great power in the universe comes not from force, but from harmony. A star can't shine unless its particles dance together in the rhythm of fusion. The ocean can't exist unless every drop of water flows into the bigger current. Even your own body proves this. Trillions of cells work not by competing with each other, but by cooperating in perfect sync, each one playing its part to keep you alive. Harmony isn't just a nice idea. It's the supreme law shaping everything that exists. Humans often confuse power with the ability to force things. They think they have to control, dominate, and conquer to be strong. But look closely, and you'll see the opposite is true. A river doesn't break through a mountain with violence. It does it through patience, by moving in rhythm with time. The wind doesn't grab hold of a flower's scent. It flows gently around it. Real power isn't about overpowering anything. It's about connecting, blending, and flowing with the current. This law of harmony is the hidden force behind everything that happens. It's why an orchestra sounds amazing when every instrument follows the same score. It's why a small, unified group of people can change the course of history, while a chaotic crowd falls apart into disorder. Harmony unlocks a kind of strength no single person could ever manage alone, because it frees up collective energy and lets different parts become one whole. In your own personal life, this means you'll never feel complete if there's constant conflict happening inside you. If your conscious mind wants one thing while your subconscious keeps pulling you back, then every effort becomes like rowing a boat against itself. You can push forward with willpower all you want, but if old beliefs are still tugging at you from underneath, you'll wear yourself out and get nowhere. Harmony between your conscious mind and your subconscious, between logic and gut instinct, is the real foundation of personal strength. When both are working together, whatever seed you plant is bound to grow. There's an old image of a ship with a crew and a captain. The captain is your conscious mind, giving orders and setting direction. The crew is your subconscious, quietly following along. If they're speaking different languages, the ship just spins in circles. But when they're in harmony, the whole crew glides smoothly across the sea. That's the whole point of this law. Every part of you has to move in the same direction. The same law shows up in relationships too. A lasting family doesn't survive because it avoids all conflict. It survives because its members keep choosing harmony, compromise, and shared values. A strong community doesn't come from everyone being the same. It comes from differences fitting inside a harmonious frame. And a whole civilization only rises once its people understand they aren't isolated individuals, but connected threads in one giant web of life. Harmony isn't the same thing as sameness. The universe has never demanded uniformity. Every star follows its own orbit. Every flower carries its own scent. What matters is that everything moves within a bigger rhythm, complementing rather than canceling each other out. Harmony means accepting and honoring differences, all fitting inside one bigger whole. Once you understand this, you stop trying to make everyone else a copy of you, and instead try to connect in ways that let each person shine in their own light. The same goes for you internally. Don't try to silence your intuition just to let logic take over, or the other way around. Every part of you plays a role. Logic gives clarity. Intuition gives guidance. Willpower gives strength. Emotion gives drive. When you learn to listen to all of them and bring them together into one shared song, you become a living orchestra. That's when you touch real wholeness, when inner conflict finally dissolves and your actions line up with your beliefs. This law of harmony is also the key to tapping into a bigger power. When you match the frequency of love, you attract love. When you tune into abundance, you open the flow of prosperity. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to beg for anything. You just have to harmonize. The universe works like one giant symphony, and every vibration you put out is your way of choosing your part in that music. Get in tune with the right frequency, and you'll be lifted up naturally. You'll flow. You'll become part of an unstoppable strength. Look at nature, and you'll see this law at play everywhere. Birds fly in V-shaped formations to cut through wind resistance and fly faster. Fish swim in schools as one unit for safety. Even forests share nutrients through underground root systems, quietly building invisible networks of harmony. People only feel lonely, lost, and drained when they're living out of step with this law. So the real secret to power isn't resistance. It's learning to blend in. You don't get weaker by finding harmony. You multiply your strength many times over. A single instrument can't make a symphony on its own. But joined together in an orchestra, the sound explodes, full, far-reaching, unforgettable. You'll find that your own personal power really takes flight only when it flows together with the universe's law of harmony. Once you truly understand this law, resistance dissolves. You stop struggling to change reality. Reality shifts on its own to match the rhythm you've stepped into. You stop seeing life as a battle and start seeing it as a symphony, inviting you to join in. From that moment on, you're an artist, not a fighter. You don't need to prove your power anymore because harmony itself becomes your strength. Here's the deep reminder: harmony isn't a choice. It's the actual nature of existence. The more you push against it, the more exhausted you become. The more you open to it, the more support you receive. And once you live fully in step with this law of harmony, you'll discover one simple but powerful truth. The universe was never against you. It's always been inviting you to join the dance. The moment you're ready to match its rhythm, you'll be guided to the exact place where power and peace become one and the same. Back in the Middle Ages, people believed alchemists could turn plain metal into gold. But what almost nobody realized was that the real secret was never about metal at all. It was about the mind. Spiritual alchemy isn't about changing outside matter. It's about transforming the invisible energy of thought. Every thought you nurture is a seed you're planting into the vast field of reality, and what grows from it isn't random chance. It's a direct reflection of what kind of seed it was. Plant worry, and you'll harvest circumstances filled with anxiety. Plant trust, and you'll harvest opportunities and ease. Spiritual alchemy starts with paying close attention to what you're thinking. Not every thought is harmless. Every single one carries a frequency, a vibration, a direction. Some lift you up like wings, others drag you down like a stone. Have you ever noticed how some days feel unbearably heavy? Not because anything bad actually happened, but because your inner world is stuffed with repeating negative thoughts. That's the weight of a thought that was never transformed, dense, stuck, murky. But once it's touched by the flame of spiritual alchemy, it can become gold. Bright, light, valuable. Picture a small candle. In total darkness it might flicker weakly, seemingly meaningless against the vast night. But the moment it lights up, the darkness has to retreat. Your thoughts work the same way. Fear, doubt, despair. They're just shadows. They have no real substance. They only exist because the light hasn't been lit yet. And that light is the transformation of thought, turning fear into strength, doubt into clarity, disappointment into a lesson and a new chance. There's an old story about a mountain that seemed impossible to break through. For centuries, a river at its base roared and pounded against the rock, trying to destroy the obstacle in its way. The mountain stood firm. It was only when the river stopped fighting and learned to flow through the smallest crack that it finally carved a path straight through. Your thoughts work the exact same way. The more you fight them, the more drained you get. But when you learn to transform them instead, letting energy shift into a higher form, you don't need force anymore to move past them. Clarity leads the way. Spiritual alchemy isn't about denying reality or pretending darkness doesn't exist. It's the courage to look directly at the darkness and say, "This is simply energy that hasn't been lit yet." Fear is energy, anger is energy, even insecurity is energy. The key isn't to get rid of them, it's to transform them. Fear can become courage because both come from caring deeply about what matters to you. Anger can become determination because both burn like fire. Insecurity can become a longing to grow because both are invitations to move past your comfort zone. So how do you actually transform them? The answer lies in awareness and choice. When a dark thought shows up, don't believe it right away. Watch it the way you'd watch a cloud drifting across the sky. That cloud might be heavy, but it's never the whole sky. You are the vast sky. And once you know that, you can choose. Hold on to the cloud or let it drift away. The moment you choose a higher thought, you've just practiced spiritual alchemy. You've turned lead into gold. You can start practicing this every single day, quite simply. Write down the limiting beliefs you keep repeating. I'm not good enough. I will fail. I don't deserve this. Don't judge them, just write them down. Then look at each one and ask, is this lead? And what's its golden form? I'm not good enough might become, I'm growing a little every day. I will fail might become every experience brings me closer to success. I don't deserve this might turn into I've always held value, and life reflects that back. Every time you make that switch, you're practicing spiritual alchemy. Remember, thoughts don't just live in your mind. They send out ripples that affect how you act, speak, and move. Someone weighed down by heavy thoughts walks slowly, their eyes dim, their words unsure. But someone who has transformed their thoughts carries an unmistakable magnetism. They don't need to shout to be heard or prove themselves to be trusted. Their energy alone speaks for them. Spiritual alchemy is also the key to real creativity. A poet can't write words that touch hearts without first learning to turn their pain into language. A musician can't compose a timeless melody without transforming loneliness into sound. A leader can't guide anyone without knowing how to turn failure into wisdom. Every great creation is the result of spiritual alchemy, turning raw energy into its purest form. And that's exactly what you're doing too. Every single day you face thousands of thoughts. They can either stay raw material, or they can become pure gold. The difference comes down to whether you realize you're the alchemist. Do you let your lesser thoughts control you, or do you use them as steps toward higher ground? Do you let darkness swallow you, or do you turn it into light? Your answer decides whether you're ruled by your thoughts, or whether you use thought to shape your life. And once you've practiced this long enough, transforming your thoughts becomes second nature. Like a river that no longer needs to roar to cut through a mountain, but simply finds its path. Like a candle that no longer flickers nervously in the dark, but shines steadily. You become spiritual alchemy in motion, carrying the power to turn any shadow into light, any lead into gold. This isn't some rare miracle saved for a few chosen people. It's a natural ability that already lives in you. And the moment you realize that, every thought stops being just something fleeting. Each one becomes raw material. Each thought is a rough stone waiting to be shaped. Each belief is a chunk of metal waiting to be refined. And you are the spiritual alchemist, the one holding the power to turn all of it into gold. Now here's something worth sitting with. Deep inside every human being burns a flame that never actually goes out. It might be small, flickering, seeming like it's about to vanish on stormy days. But strangely, all it takes is one moment of courage, one clear decision, and that flame explodes into brightness, lighting up a path that once seemed hopeless. That's your will, the invisible power capable of bending fate and opening the way toward a whole new destiny. An unbreakable will isn't blind stubbornness. It's not about fighting everything just to protect your ego. Will is a steadiness that comes from deeply knowing the path you've chosen is the one you were always meant to walk, the natural flow of your own destiny. When you truly connect with your will, you stop asking whether you can keep going. There's only one answer. You must. And when that answer echoes inside you, it's like the whole universe pauses to make way for your next step. There's an old story about a seed buried deep underground. Darkness surrounds it. Pressure presses down on it. Not a single ray of light gets in. From the outside, its fate looks sealed forever. But inside that seed, the flame of will never sleeps. It starts to crack open, to sprout, to push through the packed soil, and one day, a green shoot rises to meet the sun. Nobody told it to grow. Nobody showed it how to find the light. It was simply an unstoppable urge. Its destiny was always to become a tree. And will is the heartbeat behind that destiny. In human life, this unbreakable will shows up most clearly in moments of despair, when every door seems shut, when every effort feels pointless, when darkness swallows every sense of direction. And still, something whispers in your heart, take one more step. That single step, however small, is often enough to shift the whole situation. The great figures of history weren't people who never fell. They were the ones who got back up when everyone else gave up. Will turned them into flames that no one could put out. This unbreakable will doesn't show up in easy conditions. It shows up in your ability to generate strength in the middle of hardship. When the sea churns, the ship's real strength gets revealed. When night deepens, a flame proves its worth. And when you're cornered, will becomes the final weapon that opens a brand new door. That's exactly why people with unshakable will tend to make the whole world take notice. They don't need to shout or prove anything. Their presence alone carries a power that quiets every doubt. Picture a sacred flame kept burning inside an ancient temple. It survives storms and heavy rain, yet it never goes out, because it isn't fueled by wood or oil, but by the faith passed down through generations. Human will works the same way. It draws not just from your own personal strength, but from a connection to the invisible current of destiny. When you line your will up with a purpose bigger than yourself, it becomes unbreakable. Some people run on quick bursts of motivation. They start out blazing, then burn out fast, like torches that flare brightly, then die out in the wind. But an unbreakable will is like a glowing ember, quiet and steady, ready to burst into a roaring fire the moment it's needed. That's the real difference between people who just pass through life and people who leave a lasting mark. You might ask, how do you keep that flame alive? The answer is in your daily choices. Will isn't fed by big promises. It's fed by small, steady actions. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, the flame grows brighter. Every time you stay firm through difficulty, it grows stronger. And every time you dare to get back up after falling, that flame becomes unbreakable. This unbreakable will is also tied to something called the flame of destiny, a sense that the path you walk isn't just for you, but for something bigger. When a warrior fights not just to survive, but to protect people they love, they become many times stronger. When an artist creates not for fame, but to bring light into the world, their work outlasts time itself. And when you act from a purpose that reaches beyond your small self, your will merges into that bigger flame, the flame of destiny. Destiny isn't a chain holding you back. It's a river flowing through you, calling you to become the greatest version of yourself. Your unbreakable will is the bridge that connects you to that current. Once you listen and act, you no longer need to force anything. You simply merge with the path that was always meant to be yours. And in that merging, you become unstoppable. There's an old story of a king who was betrayed, thrown off his throne, and exiled to the desert. It seemed like everything was over, but in that darkness, he found a lesson. His golden throne could be taken from him, but the throne of his will could never be touched. He returned, not with weapons, but with a spirit that couldn't be broken. And that spirit alone made his enemies tremble and brought his people back together. Will had done what brute force never could. Ask yourself, what in your life is worth keeping that flame alive for? What makes you willing to stay steady when everything around you is shaking? Once you find that answer, you've found your own flame of destiny. And once that flame is lit, every obstacle becomes just a test meant to refine you. This unbreakable will isn't reserved for a lucky few. It's the very essence inside every person. It's simply waiting to be awakened, waiting for you to realize no hardship can ever put it out. And when you live with that will, your life stops being a string of random events and becomes a journey full of purpose, light, and power. That's the moment you're no longer just alive. You're truly living, burning with the flame of destiny. Some numbers aren't just symbols we use for counting. Some numbers are keys that unlock the hidden gates of the universe. Inside ancient wisdom and the legacy of old civilizations, the number 33 keeps showing up as a sacred code tied to completion, to a leap in awareness, to the bridge connecting humanity with the deeper layers of reality. It's no coincidence that 33 is carved into ancient buildings, written in sacred texts, and built directly into the human body. It represents far more than a mathematical value. It carries a resonance with the eternal rhythm of the cosmos. Look at your own body. your spine, the pillar of your life, contains exactly 33 vertebrae. That's not an accident. The ancients believed each vertebra was a step, channeling energy from your most basic instincts up to your crown, the point where awareness meets spiritual light. To complete this 33-step journey is to rise from ordinary to wise, from darkness into enlightenment. Your own body carries the code of 33 like a sacred map. Across ancient religions and myths, the number 33 keeps returning as an unmistakable reminder. Eastern faiths speak of 33 levels of heaven, each one raising the soul higher. Western traditions link 33 to spiritual maturity, marking the completion of a journey. Even in ancient monuments, great symbols quietly carry this same imprint. 33 steps leading into a temple, 33 rings carved onto a stone pillar, 33 crossing points in sacred geometry. What looks like random detail always points back to one truth. There's a universal code, and the number 33 is the key. And this code isn't only found in stone, in scripture, or in numbers. It echoes inside you, too. Every time you rise above a limitation, every time you shed a layer of illusion, you climb one more step on that 33-step path. Not every step is easy. Some are filled with doubt. Some are filled with fear. Others ask you to release the past. But the farther you go, the clearer you see none of it was meant to push you away. It was meant to bring you closer to the core of your own being. The number 33 is also tied to resonance. Picture a musical instrument. Pluck one string, and another string tuned to the same frequency will start to vibrate in response. That's resonance. And the universe works exactly the same way. 33 is the resonant frequency of awakening. When you line yourself up with this rhythm, your energy naturally syncs with the energy of the cosmos. You don't need to force anything, don't need to beg, just tune in. Like a radio finding the right frequency, you instantly connect to the infinite field of information. Many masters have used the image of architecture to describe this code. Picture a temple with 33 steps leading up to the top. Each step is a lesson, a challenge, a change. You can't skip steps. You can't shortcut the climb. You have to take it one step at a time. And when you finally reach the last step, you don't just arrive at the top. You arrive at the deepest level of yourself. The number 33 becomes a symbol of completion, where the path and the destination become one and the same. The universe runs on codes, and 33 is one of its core keys. From the golden spiral in nature to planetary orbits, from the heartbeat of DNA to the rhythm of your own pulse, everything speaks to one perfect order. The number 33 is like a cosmic signature stamped across every level of existence, from the smallest to the largest. It's proof that life isn't random. It follows a sacred design. And once you become aware of this code, you stop seeing yourself as a tiny being lost in the cosmos. Instead, you become part of a perfectly measured rhythm. What matters is understanding that 33 isn't just something to admire. It's meant to be lived. You don't need to search for it in pyramids or ancient scriptures. You only need to listen to what's already deep inside you. Every time you hold firm through a hard test, you climb one more step. Every time you choose light over shadow, you rise a little further. And when you complete all 33 steps, you'll realize the sacred flame you were searching for was never out there. It's always been burning inside you. And here's the great truth. The number 33 isn't only a symbol of completion. It's a code that wakes up an ancient memory inside every one of your cells. It reminds you that you've always been part of the universe, always moving in step with its sacred rhythm. It confirms that inside you lies the strength to climb every step, to reach the peak of your own awareness, and to merge with the eternal source of light. And once you realize this, every limit dissolves. You understand the journey was never about rushing outward in search of something. It's about climbing the tower inside you. Every step has already been carved into your soul, waiting for you to rise. And the number 33, this code of the universe, stops being some distant mystery. It becomes the compass guiding you, reminding you that the path to wholeness has always been right here inside your own heart. There's a truth most people have simply forgotten. You have never once been disconnected from the energy that gives life to everything. From your very first breath, you've been linked to an invisible stream, one that never runs dry, never breaks, only waits for you to remember it and receive it. The energy you've been searching for outside yourself has never actually been far away. It's always been right there, like a vast ocean and you, a single drifting drop. Look at nature. The sun shines without being told to. The wind blows without being asked. The tides rise without needing a reminder. Everything runs on an eternal current. And inside you, too, there's an endless source of energy, not coming from food, not from sleep, but from the actual life force of the universe flowing through every one of your cells. When you feel tired, it's not because that energy has left you, it's because you've simply forgotten how to reconnect with it. There's an old story of a village where a great lantern once stood in the town square. People believed it was broken because it hadn't lit up in years. They lived in darkness, weighed down by fear and fatigue, until one day a child accidentally found a dusty switch. With one gentle flick, the light burst into brilliance, lighting up the entire village. The light had never actually gone out. People had simply forgotten how to turn it on. It's the same with you. When you feel drained, don't for a second believe your power has left you. Remember, the switch is still sitting right there in your hand. This infinite energy isn't some abstract idea. It's your heartbeat, your breath, the silent current flowing through you every second. Every time you inhale, you borrow a piece of the universe to keep yourself going. Every time you exhale, you give back what you no longer need. It's an endless exchange, a non-stop dance, a rhythm nobody can break. And once you become aware of that exchange, you access a treasure that never runs dry. There are days when you feel completely empty, like there's nothing left to keep going with. That's exactly when you've shut your heart off from the flow. You grip tightly to worry, hold on to fear, tie yourself to old memories, and just like a dammed river, the energy can't move. But just one crack, one moment of letting go, and the flow rushes back in, powerful and gentle, washing away all the fog inside you. Strength doesn't need to be created. It just needs a way to move through you. Picture a raindrop falling into the sea. It never fears running dry because it has merged with the vastness of the ocean. Humans only feel drained when they forget they're part of that same great sea of energy. Once you remember, fear disappears. Despair melts away because you know you were never separate to begin with. You are the ocean, not just the drop. This source of energy doesn't just fuel your body, it feeds your spirit too. When creativity flows through you, when a sudden spark of inspiration hits, that's the flow moving through you. When you unexpectedly find courage in a moment of weakness, that's the current surging up. And when you love, really love, giving freely without keeping score, you're opening the widest doorway for infinite energy to pour in. There's no limit to this stream except the beliefs you place on it yourself. If you believe you're weak, you shut the door. If you believe you're unworthy, you build a wall. But when you believe you're a channel for eternal life, you open every pathway. And that energy will move through you, like a river through a valley, like wind through a mountain pass, like sunlight spilling across a sunrise. An old piece of wisdom once said, "Energy is never lost. It only changes from one form into another." This is true for the universe, and it's true for you. Sadness doesn't need to be pushed away. It can become understanding. Pain doesn't need to be denied. It can become compassion. Exhaustion doesn't need to be resented. It can become deep stillness. Once you know how to transform, you no longer fear any state you're in, because they're all just currents seeking a new shape. To reconnect with this infinite source, you don't need complicated rituals. You just need a single pause, closing your eyes, taking one deep breath, and recognizing that you're breathing along with the universe. Picture a golden light entering with your inhale, flowing into every cell, lighting up your whole body. As you exhale, let go of your worry, let go of heaviness, and return it back to the stream. Repeat it, and you'll feel the shift, lightness, clarity, energy. This infinite energy isn't distant. It lives in the breath you just took, in your heartbeat, in the sunlight touching your skin right now. You never lost it. You just needed to remember it. And once you do, you'll stop walking with heavy feet and start moving as if you have invisible wings, carrying you further than you ever imagined possible. From that point on, you'll understand. You don't need to beg for energy or plead for strength. You just need to open your heart and let the ever-present stream pour through you. When you live in this connection, you'll never fear running empty again, because you'll have merged with the eternal force of the universe. Every single human being gives off their own unique frequency. Just like every star in the sky shines with its own light and rhythm, this frequency can't be seen by the eye, but it echoes in every word you speak, every thought you have, every move you make. It's your vibrational signature, an invisible imprint that the universe is constantly listening to and responding to. Nobody can hide this signature because it doesn't come from how you look on the outside. It's shaped by the deepest inner state of your being. Picture a musical instrument. Pluck one string, and the sound spreads instantly, activating other strings tuned to the same frequency. That's resonance. The universe runs on this exact same principle. Your vibrational signature sends out a steady tone, and what shows up in your life is never random. It's pulled in by the frequency you're holding on to. People who live in fear keep running into situations that magnify that fear. People who carry confidence and belief keep encountering chances to grow. The universe doesn't play favorites. It simply responds honestly to whatever vibration you're giving off. Someone once said, "You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are." That's an undeniable truth. Your desires might only live on the surface of your conscious mind, but your vibrational signature is written by your entire being. Your beliefs, your emotions, the energy you carry every single day. If you want love, but deep down you still carry a fear of being abandoned, your vibration reflects lack, and the outside world can only mirror that same lack back to you. But when you truly become love, meaning your vibration lines up with the frequency of love itself, you won't have to chase it. Love will come find you. Here's a story that shows this well. There was a wandering musician who played in many places, but nobody ever stopped to listen. He believed he lacked talent, a good instrument, or luck. Then one day, an old friend told him, "Music isn't in your fingers, it's in your heart." When he started playing from a place of stillness and real love, no longer trying to prove anything, his music turned into something that called out to people. They stopped, they listened, they wept. What had changed wasn't the song. It was the vibrational signature coming from within him. You're exactly the same. Your current life isn't just some meaningless arrangement. It's a mirror reflecting the frequency you're giving off. Look at the patterns that keep repeating in your life. The same kinds of relationships, the recurring opportunities, even the familiar obstacles. These are all signs of an active vibrational signature. And unless you change your frequency, the pattern will just keep repeating itself in new forms. So, how do you shift your vibrational signature? The first step is awareness. Just like you can't retune a radio if you don't even know what frequency you're on, you have to observe the emotions that dominate you: worry or peace, contraction or openness, scarcity or abundance. Your emotions are the most honest signal of your vibration. The second step is a conscious choice. You can change the song by changing the frequency. This doesn't mean forcing yourself to feel joy while you're actually sad. It means learning to see sadness in a new light, so it naturally transforms into understanding. Your vibrational signature is written every day through small actions. When you practice gratitude, you line up with the frequency of abundance. When you forgive, you release your vibration from the weight it's been carrying. When you love, you expand your vibration to match the bigger flow. And each of these small acts, repeated over and over, gradually shapes a completely new signature. The universe only needs a clear signal, and it responds with matching circumstances. Here's a simple way to picture it. Imagine you're a magnet. A magnet doesn't chase down iron filings. It simply stays true to its nature, and whatever matches it is naturally drawn in. People work the same way. Whatever frequency you're vibrating at, you attract matching experiences, not through forced effort, but through a natural, irresistible pull. What matters most is that your vibrational signature is never fixed. It's constantly shifting with every choice, belief, and habit you build. You might get pulled toward lower frequencies when fear and doubt take over. But you can also rise back up at any moment simply by returning to stillness and choosing a higher thought. And once that choice becomes consistent, your new vibrational signature becomes deeply engraved, shaping your identity. And with it, the frequency of what you attract changes too. Ask yourself, if my life right now reflects my vibrational signature, what have I been writing it with? Do I want this signature to keep playing as it is, or do I want a different song? The answer lives inside you, not somewhere outside. And the moment you claim that power, you'll witness something remarkable. You're no longer a passive player in the game of fate. You're the musician composing the soundtrack of your own life. The universe stops being some distant place. It becomes a grand orchestra, and you're one of its instruments. And the music you create decides the entire symphony that plays out around you. Once you understand your vibrational signature and how it attracts what matches it, you stop fearing what's happening because you know it's all just an echo of yourself. And if you want to change the world outside you, you don't need to control other people or your circumstances. You only need to retune your inner instrument. Once you start playing a new melody, the entire music of the universe shifts right along with you. On this journey of uncovering the true nature of life, you'll come to realize there are invisible doorways waiting for you in stillness. These doorways aren't made of wood, stone, or steel. They're made of layers of awareness. Each one is a threshold, a point where truth slowly reveals itself and illusion melts away. They don't open with an outside key, only when your own inner self has fully ripened. And in that exact moment, whatever you've been longing for stops being distant. It appears clear and undeniable. These gateways of revelation are rarely seen with the naked eye. People who chase only the noise of the outside world might walk right past them without even noticing. But those who are quiet enough, brave enough to look within, will run into extraordinary moments. Moments when intuition speaks with real force. Moments when a spark of insight suddenly flashes. Moments when what seemed like a random event turns out to be the exact answer to a question buried deep in your heart. These aren't coincidences. They're signs that you've just walked through a gate. Every gate opens the moment you're ready. It can't be forced. You can't knock impatiently and expect it to swing open on demand. The gate of revelation only opens once you've shed the old and put on the new. Just like a seed can't stay locked forever inside its hard shell. Once it ripens, it has to crack open so the sprout can be born. In the same way, a person has to break through the shell of their limiting beliefs before stepping across the threshold of revelation. Think back to the moments in your life when you felt this kind of awakening. Maybe it was standing before the night sea, realizing you were both tiny and infinite at the same time. Maybe it was suddenly seeing that a fear you'd clung to for years was just a mirage. Or maybe it was understanding that love was never something to find. It had always been inside you. These are the moments when the gates swing open, and from that instant, you can't ever see the world through the same eyes again. Some gates open gently like a breeze. They come in stillness, in meditation, in the moments when you truly listen to yourself. But some gates open through hardship. They show up as upheaval, as loss, as collapse. At first it might feel like life has turned its back on you. But once you've walked through, you realize that gate led you to a whole new layer of understanding, one where greater strength and clarity were waiting for you. What's remarkable is that these gates don't only open once. They keep opening again and again at different levels. Every time you break through an illusion, a shell, a limiting belief, another gate appears, and your journey becomes a chain of gates, each one bringing you closer to the center of truth. It's a journey with no real end, because the revelation of the universe never runs out. People often ask, how do I know when I'm standing in front of a gate? The answer lies in a feeling. When a gate is about to open, you'll feel a strong pull inside you. It might be a pull to leave something old behind, to head in a new direction, or to let go of a burden. This feeling is both familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. Familiar because it comes from your true self. Unfamiliar because it challenges what you've believed for so long. When you feel this pull, know the gate is already right in front of you, and now you have to decide. Step through or stay behind. Stepping through means accepting change, no longer being who you once were, leaving behind the illusion of safety. Staying means continuing to live inside a loop, comfortable inside your illusion. Nobody can push you. The gate only opens from within. But once you choose to cross it, revelation comes rushing in like the dawn, unstoppable and full of light. Here's the important part to understand. These gates aren't reserved for a chosen few. They exist for everyone, everywhere, at all times. A gate can be the moment you choose to forgive. A gate can be the moment you choose love over hatred. A gate can be the decision to trust, even when everything around you is tempting you to doubt. Each of these moments is a key that opens up new space where a deeper truth is waiting. These gates also teach you something important. Truth never forces itself on you. It only invites. It stands there quietly, waiting for you to be ready. It doesn't rush you. It doesn't threaten you. It just gives off a gentle pull. And when you find the courage to move toward it, you'll realize truth was never a stranger. It's an old friend who has always walked beside you, simply waiting for you to turn around and notice it. Once you walk through a gate, you're never the same again. Not because the outside world instantly changes, but because you change. The way you see the world, the way you feel, the way you respond, it all shifts. And that inner change naturally reshapes the circumstances around you. This is the real miracle of revelation. It doesn't add anything new from the outside, it only uncovers what was always there. This journey through the gateways is really a journey back to your own true nature. Every gate you pass through is like wiping away one more layer of dust from a mirror. At first the image is blurry, but the more you wipe, the clearer it becomes, until finally you see yourself in full brightness. Revelation doesn't take you to some far-off place. It brings you home, and in that homecoming you realize freedom was never lost, love was never absent, and light was never put out. This is the deep truth these gates whisper to you. There's nothing outside of you that needs to be found. There's only something inside you that needs to be remembered. And with each act of remembering, a gate opens. With each opening, another piece of truth reveals itself, until finally you understand. The universe never hid anything from you. It only waited for you to be ready to see it. Every great journey starts with one decisive step, and on this path of uncovering truth, that first step is always letting go of the old ego, because nobody can carry the weight of outdated illusions and still cross into new territory. The path only opens up for those willing to walk it lightly. And the heaviest baggage we carry is the ego, the mask built from fear, ambition, and attachment to a limited version of yourself. The ego isn't the enemy, but it is a beautifully decorated cage. It convinces you that you're safe, while in reality, it's keeping you locked in. It builds an image of a me separate from everything else, and demands you defend that image at all costs. From there come conflict, comparison, competition, anxiety. You live your whole life protecting an imagined self, forgetting that underneath that mask is a vast, free, infinite essence. Letting go of the ego doesn't mean you disappear. It means the truest part of you finally gets the chance to come through. There's an old story about a man searching for a precious gem. He carried a heavy sack full of worthless rocks with him, afraid that without them he'd have nothing at all. When he reached the mouth of the cave where the gem glowed, he couldn't fit through the entrance. The sack was too big. He stood there hesitant, unwilling to let it go. Only when he finally dared to drop the bag of worthless rocks was he light enough to step inside and find the real treasure. The ego works the exact same way. It's the sack of rubble you cling to, believing it's treasure. But the real gem, your free, true self, only appears once you dare to let it go. Letting go of the ego isn't a one-time act. It's a gradual process. It starts with recognition. You have to dare to look inward and ask, what in me is real, and what is just a role I'm playing? Those sudden bursts of anger, are they really me, or just a learned reaction? Those endless worries, are they true, or just recycled memories? When you face these questions honestly, the fog starts to lift. You see the ego is really just a collection of stories you've told about yourself, not your true essence. That first threshold is always the hardest, because the ego fights back. It whispers that if you let go, you'll lose everything. It plants the fear that you'll end up empty, with nothing left to hold on to. But the truth is the opposite. When you let go, you don't lose anything. You're returned to a freedom untouched by judgment, returned to a peace untouched by comparison, returned to a love with no conditions attached. Letting go doesn't make you smaller, it makes you whole. To step across this threshold, you have to learn to be quiet inside. The ego is noisy. It always wants to assert itself, to prove something. But in your silence, another voice begins to speak, softer but steadier, gentle yet powerful. It's the voice of your soul, your true nature. When you follow that voice, you start undoing each chain the ego has placed on you. And with every layer you remove, the door opens a little wider. Remember, nobody can let go of the ego for you. Teachers can point the way. Books can offer insight. But the door only opens from the inside. Every time you choose forgiveness over resentment, you release a piece of the ego. Every time you choose trust over doubt, you let go a little more. Every time you choose love over selfishness, the door widens, and eventually you step through, not with drama, but with quiet grace, as if you've simply taken off a shirt that never fit and put on the one that was always truly yours. Here's the miracle of it. When you release the old ego, you don't become someone else. You return to yourself. Like a sculpture revealed by removing extra stone, your true shape was always there. You don't have to invent a new version of yourself. You only need to shed the false layers, and once revealed, that being carries a light, a wisdom, and a strength you never knew you had. Some people ask, what's the sign that I've crossed this threshold? The answer is a sense of lightness. You stop feeling the need to prove your worth because you already know it. You stop trying to earn love because you realize you already are love. You stop clinging tightly because you know that nothing truly yours can ever be lost. When these feelings become your natural state, that's when you've stepped through this first threshold. Letting go of the old ego is the foundation for every revelation that comes after it. Without crossing it, every other gateway stays an illusion. But once it's crossed, you enter the real journey, the journey of spiritual freedom, clear wisdom, and unconditional love. And from that point forward, you're no longer a dreamer wandering through illusion, but an awakened person walking the path of light. And the truth is, you've always had what it takes to walk through it. You don't need more preparation. You only need the courage to set down the bag of stones. The door is still there, waiting. The first threshold is still there, inviting you in. And beyond it, your free self stands with open arms, waiting for you to come home. Deep inside every human being burns a flame, not made of visible light, but a quiet energy that feeds every rhythm of life. This flame never actually dies. It just glows brightly at times, faintly at others, or gets covered in dust made of fear and doubt. But when you touch it, when you wake it up through awareness, your whole body, mind, and soul start to change. You don't just feel stronger. You awaken energy codes that have always been deeply carved into the very fabric of who you are. This inner flame doesn't come from outside you. It's not something other people can give you, and it's not the result of blind effort. It's always been there, like a seed carrying the essence of an entire forest, like a mountain buried under the soil, like the sun still blazing even when it's hidden behind clouds. The only question is whether you recognize it and give it permission to rise. A lot of people live their whole lives never even knowing this flame exists, because they keep their eyes turned outward, always seeking light from other people, forgetting the truest light already lives inside themselves. Picture your body as a sacred temple. At the center of that temple burns an eternal flame, its life, its energy, its will. When you stay only on the surface, that flame flickers dimly. When you're overwhelmed with anxiety and doubt, smoke clouds the light. But when you learn to turn inward, to feed that flame with faith, presence, and love, the whole temple lights up. And that light doesn't just shine on you. It reaches outward, touching everyone who steps into your presence. And something remarkable happens once this inner flame wakes up. Dormant energy codes inside you get activated. These codes are like ancient markings carved into a sacred gem, unchangeable, simply waiting for light to reveal their shape. These energy codes hold the memory of your soul, the divine blueprint you've carried since the very beginning. They hold your creative potential, your healing power, and a wisdom that goes beyond anything you were ever taught. Every person carries a unique energy pattern, like a fingerprint that no two people share. When your inner flame gets activated, these codes start operating, guiding you back to your true path. You may notice your intuition sharpening, your creative spark igniting, your connection to life growing deeper. What once seemed random, a chance meeting, a message, an overheard phrase, suddenly becomes meaningful. These aren't coincidences. They're signs that your energy codes are now in motion. Some people ask, how do I actually activate this flame? The answer isn't complicated rituals. It's daily choices. Every time you dare to be authentic, you light it up a little more. Every time you choose love over fear, you add fuel to it. Every time you sit in silence and truly listen to yourself, you open the way for your codes to light up. This inner flame doesn't ask much of you, only sincerity. It doesn't demand perfection, only honesty. Remember, this inner flame is tied directly to your willpower and creativity. When you let yourself get consumed by fear, the flame dims and the codes go dormant. But when you believe in your own limitless capacity, the flame blazes, the codes reveal themselves, and your life rises into a new frequency. You start attracting experiences that match your truest self because your frequency has changed. Here's a beautiful image to picture. In the dark of night, a lantern gets lit. The intricate patterns on its paper, once invisible in the shadows, suddenly appear clearly under the light. It's the same with you. The energetic patterns inside you are waiting for your inner flame to shine. Once the light appears, you realize you were never empty. You had simply forgotten the beauty you already carried. Activating your energy codes also means starting to live according to the sacred blueprint the universe placed inside you. You stop chasing someone else's model. Stop comparing yourself. Stop imitating others. You know who you are, know which path is yours, and you walk it with a steady inner certainty. Life stops feeling like a random chain of events and starts feeling more like a harmonious song, where every note falls perfectly into place. This inner flame is also a deep source of healing. When it burns bright, old wounds start to dissolve, not because the past disappears, but because you've finally brought light to where darkness once ruled. Pain no longer traps you. It becomes a lesson. Scars no longer bind you. They become sources of strength, and you understand this flame has always been waiting patiently to heal you from within. Don't forget, this inner flame isn't just for you. When you live in its light, you become a beacon for other people too. You don't need to preach or prove anything. Your presence, peaceful, radiant, strong, becomes an unspoken invitation to those still stuck in the dark. Light spreads not through noise, but through simple presence. And that presence is the greatest gift you can offer to the world. Once the threshold of ego release has opened, this inner flame is the next step in your journey. Once awakened, you'll understand you were never weak, never lacking, never truly separated from the source. You've always carried sacred energy codes inside you, simply waiting for this exact moment to ignite. Let that flame guide you. Let those codes reveal themselves, and live with the full power that has belonged to you from the very beginning. If there's one language the universe uses to write itself into existence, it's geometry. Not the dry numbers on a page, but ratios, spirals, and repeating patterns that show up from the tiniest scale to the largest. It's present in the way a flower blooms in spirals, in the shell etched with the golden ratio, in the networks of nebulae stretching across space, and even in the coiled structure of the DNA spinning inside every single one of your cells. This is sacred geometry, the foundational blueprint the universe was built from. Look at the middle of a sunflower. The seeds aren't scattered randomly. They're arranged in a Fibonacci spiral, a rule nature follows without exception. That same rule shows up in the motion of spiral galaxies, in the swirl of a whirlpool, in the spinning winds of a storm. Everything moves in tune with this invisible symphony, where geometry isn't just math, it's life expressing itself. Ancient people recognized this thousands of years ago. Pyramids, temples, and huge monuments were all built according to the rules of sacred geometry. The golden ratio, circles, triangles, six-pointed stars, the flower of life. These weren't just decoration. They were keys used to sync a structure with the cosmos, turning blocks of stone into spaces that resonate with a deeper energy. A temple built on these sacred proportions becomes a space where people can more easily connect with higher states of awareness. But more importantly, sacred geometry doesn't just live in buildings, it's carved deep into you. Your DNA spirals according to the exact same principles. Your heart beats in wave-like rhythms. Your brain gives off waves at mathematically perfect frequencies. You don't just live in a universe built on sacred geometry. You are a living example of it. Why does this matter? Because when you understand and live in step with sacred geometry, you stop swimming against the current. You become aligned with the universe's design. At that point, creative power, manifestation, and personal growth stop being difficult. They become natural results, like a musician hitting the right notes, and every part of your life begins to resonate in harmony. You no longer need to force anything because the universe itself carries you forward with perfect rhythm. Here's a simple way to picture it. If you plant a seed in the right season, in step with the lunar cycle, with the right balance of soil, water, and light, that plant grows strong. But if you plant it out of season, fighting against nature's rules, you'll struggle, and the result will come out weak or twisted. Your life works the same way. When you live by sacred geometry, every step becomes effortless and smooth. You stop wrestling with life. You let the current lift you instead. People often ask, how do I connect with sacred geometry in everyday life? The answer starts with paying attention. Watch nature, the pattern of leaves on a stem, the layers of a pine cone, the curl of ocean waves. Watch your own body, your heartbeat, your breath, the symmetry between the two halves of your brain. Everything reminds you that you're part of this perfect order, and once you become aware of it, you can bring it into your own choices. How you set up your living space, how you steady your emotions, how you shape the rhythm of your thoughts and actions. There's a secret the old sages used to whisper about. Sacred geometry is also a map for unlocking your inner world. When you picture the flower of life, when you sit inside a sacred circle, when your mind melts into an endless spiral, your awareness naturally syncs with higher frequencies. The inner chaos melts away, replaced by clarity, insight, and fresh strength. You stop feeling like a small individual and start feeling like a glowing node in the vast network of the cosmos. Remember, sacred geometry isn't just a theory. It's how the universe is actually functioning right now, In every heartbeat, in every breath you take, every time you inhale and exhale, your chest expands and contracts in a wave-like motion. Every time you smile, the curve of your lips echoes the golden ratio, just like the petal of a rose. And every time you open your mind to this truth, you place yourself back in step with the grand design. Once you attune yourself to sacred geometry, changes become obvious. Your intuition sharpens, your thinking becomes clearer, your emotions find balance, and most importantly, you feel deeply connected to everything around you. You stop seeing the world as a random pile of events and start seeing it as a grand symphony where every sound and beat has been placed on purpose. You realize there are no coincidences, only resonance. Once you understand this secret, you start to become a conscious co-creator. Instead of resisting order, you start building your life using the very rules the universe itself uses. You paint your dreams on the canvas of the golden ratio. You plant your desires along the spiral of Fibonacci. You build your future like constructing a temple, where every detail lines up with the sacred blueprint. And you'll witness the miracle. The universe responds instantly, because when you move in the right rhythm, every door opens, every obstacle dissolves, and you become someone who lives with the universe, not against it. Sacred geometry doesn't just give you answers, it gives you a map. It shows you that you're not lost, only in need of realignment. It reminds you that you aren't small. You're part of the grand design, where every curve, every ratio, every spiral carries meaning. And when you live with this truth, you don't just find balance. You find freedom because you understand you aren't random. You're the result of a perfect design. And that design keeps shaping you through every breath, every decision, and every step you take on this endless path of awakening. There's a force most people underestimate, yet it's woven into every moment of life, the force of words. Every word you speak, every sentence you repeat, carries a vibration like an energy code sent out into space. The ancients understood speech was never just a tool for communication. It was an act of calling something into being, a key that opens invisible gates. Words are the vibrational code of creation, the rhythmic tapping on the foundation of reality, sending waves of energy that ripple outward and take shape. Pay attention. Some words you hear lift you up, lighten your heart, ignite your spirit. Others drag you into darkness, drain your motivation, chip away at your belief. The exact same sequence of sounds, but such different effects, because every word carries its own frequency. It's like a musical note. Some harmonize, others clash. The universe doesn't respond to a dictionary definition. It responds to the vibration your words give off. Sound healers understand this well. They use drums, bells, and chants to realign the body's energy fields. Even without understanding the meaning, the body responds to tone and resonance. In the same way, the words you repeat every day, I can't, I'm exhausted, I'm powerless, quietly become commands sent to your subconscious, reprogramming the frequency you give off. And your subconscious, like a loyal soldier, doesn't argue or judge. It simply listens and carries out the order. If you plant weak seeds in the soil, you'll grow fragile sprouts. Words are seeds planted in the soil of your subconscious. Ask yourself, what seeds are you planting? Seeds of limitation or seeds of expansion? Seeds of scarcity or seeds of abundance? Every word you speak is a message sent to the universe, stating what kind of experience you're choosing, and the universe, neutral and fair, simply mirrors back exactly what you sent out. In many ancient civilizations, sacred words were kept hidden, passed only to worthy students, not out of secrecy, but because they understood the power of sound. A single syllable, spoken with the right rhythm and the right intention, could shift energy, heal illness, even trigger something beyond ordinary explanation. But you don't need ancient words to start. The words you use every single day already carry enough power to restructure your entire life. Think about this. When you say, I am grateful, your whole body feels lighter. When you say, I am at peace, your heartbeat slows and your breath deepens. When you affirm, I am enough, a quiet reassurance spreads through you. This is clear proof that words aren't empty sound. They're tuning signals for your body's entire frequency. And when the body shifts, your whole energy field changes, and reality follows along with it. Here's the paradox. A lot of people unknowingly cast spells on themselves using negative language. They say, I'm never lucky, and life responds with misfortune. They repeat, I'm not worthy, and their experiences fall in line to prove that belief right. Words become an invisible chain they lock around themselves, and yet the solution lies inside that exact same tool. Change your words, change your frequency, change your reality. This doesn't mean forcing yourself to lie. If you're feeling sad, don't deny it, but choose words that guide you toward the light. Instead of, I failed, try, I'm learning an important lesson. Instead of, I can't handle this, try, I'm learning how to grow stronger. By doing this, your words honor your current feeling while opening up a new frequency, one that pulls you toward a brighter future. Words aren't just sound. They're a bridge between your conscious mind and your subconscious. When you write positive affirmations, when you whisper strong statements before falling asleep, you're sending signals straight into your inner control center. And before long, you'll notice your life starting to shift. Not because of some outside miracle, but because the frequency you're broadcasting has changed. Picture every word you speak as a drop of ink falling onto the surface of a lake. That drop ripples outward, gradually coloring the entire water. The words you speak today become the vibrational field you'll live inside tomorrow. If you want a clear lake, pay attention to every drop of ink you release, because words never simply vanish into the air. They become the very atmosphere you breathe, the picture you live inside. And most importantly, the words you say to yourself carry the greatest power of all. You might praise other people, but if you constantly criticize yourself, you're planting negativity right at the root. You could uplift the whole world, but if the first thing you say to yourself every morning is, I'm not good enough, then you spend the whole day living under that low frequency. Start by changing the way you talk to yourself. Practice saying, I am enough, I am strong, I am loved. This isn't just comfort talk, it's reprogramming your entire energy field. Words are the vibrational code of creation. Once you grasp that idea, you'll never speak carelessly again. Every word becomes a chisel carving into the stone of your reality. Every sentence becomes a beat shaping your future. You become the conductor, the programmer, the architect of your own world. And that world will stop echoing with chaos. It'll start singing in harmony, beginning with the words you choose to speak. Every great structure begins with an invisible blueprint. Before a single brick gets laid, before a single arch rises, its image already exists in the mind of the architect. Without a blueprint, a structure is just a chaotic pile of materials. In the same way, your life isn't the result of chance. It's a construction built from a mental blueprint made up of the thoughts, beliefs, and inner pictures you hold on to every day. Consciousness is the architect, and reality is the structure built from those mental drawings. Look closely and you'll see this principle behind every human achievement. A bridge spanning a river, a skyscraper, a piece of music that outlasts time. All of them appear twice, first in the mind, then in the physical world. A builder doesn't randomly stack stones and hope they form a castle. A composer doesn't strike random notes and expect a symphony to appear. Everything begins in the mind with a clear picture of what it's meant to become. So if you want to change your reality, you don't need to move the whole world. You only need to start with the inner architecture. The outer world is really just a mirror reflecting the inner one. The more clearly you carve the design into your mind, the more reality is pulled into matching it. What you believe to be real slowly becomes real, not through some outside miracle, but because you keep transmitting a blueprint, and the universe has to build according to it. If you draw walls of limitation in your mind, life will raise those same walls around you. But if you open doors of freedom inside yourself, life will reveal wide open paths ahead. Remember the story of the old sailors? They didn't fight the wind, and they didn't curse the waves. They understood the secret was setting their sails in the right direction. The wind still blew, the waves still rose, but the ship still reached its destination through skillful steering. Your consciousness is that sail. Reality is always moving, but if you know how to steer the sail of your thoughts, you can guide the ship of your life toward the shore you choose. The miracle is, you always hold the power to design your life. Even when you're doing it without thinking, you're still drawing a blueprint in your mind. The only difference is whether you let it unfold automatically or take control of it yourself. When you complain, when you fear, you're unknowingly sketching a structure full of shadows. When you visualize, when you trust, you're building a structure full of light. Consciousness is always shaping something, whether you're paying attention to it or not. So the only real path to change is becoming a conscious architect. Some people ask, how do you build reality from consciousness? The answer comes down to 3 steps. The first is visualization. Picture clearly in your mind what you want, as if it already exists. Not vague, not half-hearted, but vivid, down to the small details. The second is belief. Hold the blueprint steady against the winds of doubt. A building only stands strong if its blueprint isn't rewritten every day. And the final step is emotion. Emotion is the energy that turns the design from a thought into something real. When you feel like your desire has already come true, you breathe life into your blueprint. Throughout history, there have been people who built entire empires from nothing but a single mental image. They saw the cities, the temples, the roads long before anyone else could. Their unshakable belief caused the world around them to rearrange itself to match their vision. And you carry the exact same ability. There's no difference, only the question of whether you're willing to believe long enough for your blueprint to become real. Here's a way to picture it. Each thought is like a brick. A single brick alone doesn't build anything. But if you keep placing them steadily, patiently following the blueprint, over time, a whole castle rises. If you keep changing the blueprint constantly, the house stays unfinished and fragile. But if you hold the vision steady, every brick locks into place. Your consciousness is the builder, and each thought is your material. In spiritual architecture, there's no such thing as failure, only an incomplete design. If the structure you're living in today isn't what you hoped for, that's not punishment. It's a reflection of an old design, and you're completely free to redraw it. The new blueprint won't transform the structure overnight, but day by day, thought by thought, belief by belief, it will gradually replace the old foundation. And soon enough, you'll find yourself living in a new house, brighter, wider, and more aligned with your truth. What matters most is consistency. An architect doesn't abandon a project halfway through or rewrite the design every time a storm rolls in. They hold the vision steady, letting every small stone contribute to the bigger structure. Your consciousness works exactly the same way. If you keep returning to a clear picture of the life you want, it will start to take shape. No need to rush, no need to force it. Reality follows naturally because it's a universal law. Consciousness shapes the form matter takes. Once you understand and live by this principle, you stop feeling passive in the face of fate. You become the architect of your own life. Every morning, you're not just facing a new day. You're holding a blueprint in your hands, drawing new lines into your masterpiece. Every thought, every word, every belief, these are the lines forming the grand architecture of your reality. And once you truly master this inner architecture, you'll see something extraordinary. Life stops being a random sequence of events and becomes a work of art, crafted by the invisible hand of consciousness. On this journey of unlocking inner power, There's one point every wise teacher keeps coming back to: absolute belief. Not a fragile belief that sways with circumstances, not a belief that leans on luck, but a state of certainty so complete there's no gap left for doubt to slip through. When a belief reaches that level, it becomes a command sent to the universe, and every chain that once held you dissolves on its own, like mist vanishing in sunlight. Picture a prisoner locked in a dark cell for decades. The chains on his hands feel like an unbreakable reality, but one day he realizes those chains only held power inside his mind, and the iron crumbles to dust. The walls that once seemed solid reveal themselves to be illusions in the dark. He steps outside, not through brute strength, but through inner transformation. That's what happens when absolute belief takes hold. Limits lose their foundation to even exist. In life, plenty of people live as if their chains are real. Chains like, I can't, I'm not worthy, I will always be this way. These chains weren't forged by anyone else. They were built by their own agreement to wear them. Because the subconscious doesn't tell the difference between true and false. It simply responds to what you believe. If you believe the door is locked, you'll never even try to open it. If you believe freedom is far away, you'll never dare step out. Absolute belief is like a flame that burns those chains away. It doesn't need to fight. It doesn't need to prove anything. The moment you truly believe, the entire old belief system collapses. What actually keeps the bird trapped in its cage isn't the locked door. It's the belief that there's no way out. And the moment it realizes the door was always open, its whole life changes in an instant. Here's something important to understand. Absolute belief isn't created through logic. You can't reason your way into it. It shows up when your mind, your emotions, and your soul all line up together at a single point of certainty. It's like knowing the sun will rise tomorrow. You don't argue, you don't doubt. You just know. When a belief reaches that level inside you, reality can't resist it. It has to bend accordingly. There have been people who healed from serious illness simply because they held an unshakable belief they would recover. There have been people who rose above brutal conditions because they knew, without a shred of doubt, they were meant to thrive. Their belief left no room for alternatives, not defeat, not failure, not being trapped. And when the universe received that signal, it arranged everything to line up with it. That's not coincidence. It's the natural response of the law of creation. Remember, absolute belief isn't blindness. It doesn't deny reality. It sees straight through it. It doesn't claim darkness doesn't exist. It insists the light is stronger. It doesn't ignore challenges. It treats them as chances to prove your own strength. Absolute belief is the ongoing choice to stand with the light until everything else fades. So how do you actually get there? The first step is recognizing your limiting beliefs. You have to be honest with yourself. What stories have you repeated for far too long? I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm just not lucky. When you write them down, you'll see they're just fragile threads, but they've held you back for years. The second step is replacement. Every time an old belief pops up, don't argue with it, don't fight it. Just place a new statement there instead. I am abundant. I am strong. I am supported by the universe. At first your mind might resist. It's used to the chains. Freedom feels unfamiliar. But if you stay consistent, keep repeating the new beliefs, feeding them with real emotion, they'll take root. And one day, you'll find you don't even have to try anymore. Absolute belief flows naturally. At that point, you no longer need to prove anything to anyone or need approval from outside because the certainty inside you is already enough. Absolute belief isn't something distant. It once lived inside you as a child. A child believes it can stand up after falling, believes it can learn to talk, to walk, to laugh. It doesn't doubt. It simply acts. And through that very certainty, it achieves what once seemed impossible. You don't need to learn something brand new. You only need to remember a power you've always had, to believe fully. When you enter this state of absolute belief, you become an unstoppable current. Life may test you, but you stay unmoved. The world may shake, but you stand firm. You're no longer bound by judgment, by limits, by fear. All those chains vanish because you no longer believe they exist. And when your belief is as solid as bedrock, freedom stops being a dream. It becomes your reality. The real result isn't gaining more power. It's releasing every illusion of weakness. Absolute belief doesn't hand you something new. It just clears the fog to reveal the truth that you were always strong, always free, always whole. The chains dissolve, not because you broke them, but because you stopped believing in them. And that's the moment you step into a whole new level of the journey. A life no longer held back, actions no longer blocked, a mind no longer shaken. From there, you become living proof of one simple, profound truth. Absolute belief is enough to free any human being from every invisible chain. Look into a mirror. What you see isn't its own reality. It's only a reflection. If you smile, the image smiles back. If you frown, the image frowns too. There's no way to make the mirror change before you change yourself first. And this is the foundational rule behind all of life. The world doesn't turn you into this or that. It only reflects the inner state you're carrying. When you feel rejected, it's not because the whole world has turned its back on you. It's because you're reflecting a belief that you're unworthy. When you keep finding yourself stuck in lack, it's not because the universe wants to punish you. It's because you're radiating a frequency of scarcity. And when you step out into the world with trust and calm, the world seems to open its arms, offering opportunities, support, and small wonders. The mirror only does one thing: it gives back exactly what you put in. A lot of people spend their entire lives blaming the mirror. They knock on it, hit it, complain about how ugly the reflection is. But no matter what they do, the reflection doesn't change until the real face changes. The hard but freeing truth is this: if you want to change the world, change yourself. Because everything outside you is just a faithful reflection of what's inside. There's an old story about a king who, filled with anxiety, watched his kingdom slide into chaos. When he was afraid, enemies seemed to appear from every side. But when he learned to plant peace and trust inside his own heart, the harvests flourished, the borders stayed calm, and the people thrived. It wasn't that the world suddenly changed. It was that his inner state transformed, and reality mirrored it right back. In the same way, if you keep repeating the same pattern in your relationships, maybe feeling abandoned, betrayed, or overlooked, stop and ask yourself, what am I reflecting from inside? Do I believe I'm not enough? Do I fear being left behind? Because when those beliefs live inside you, they'll show up outside you with startling precision. Not because you deserve the pain, but because the mirror can't lie. This principle of reflection isn't here to blame you. It's here to give you power. Because if the world is only a mirror, you don't have to change the entire universe to live differently. You only need to change your perspective, your beliefs, your inner emotions. And once you truly shift, the mirror shifts instantly, the same way a genuine smile lights up the reflection right away. The hardest part is being willing to take responsibility. The responsibility that every experience in your life, good or bad, is reflecting some part of you. When you get angry at the mirror, you just prolong your own limitation. But when you calmly look into it and accept, this is me and I can change, that's when you take back the key. Try a simple experiment for one day. Watch how the world treats you, the words people say, their glances, the opportunities, the obstacles. All of it is a mirror. Then ask yourself, what are these reflecting inside me? If you see a cold world, maybe there's a lack of warmth inside you. If you keep meeting harshness, maybe you're being too hard on yourself. And if you find a world full of love and openness, be grateful, because that's a sign you're living in harmony. This principle of reflection doesn't erase the variety of life. It doesn't say you can control every event, but it shows that how you experience those events always depends on your inner state. In the same storm, one person panics, another sees a chance to start fresh. Facing the same challenge, one person breaks, another rises stronger. The outer world may look the same for both, but the reflection in each mirror is different, because it's the inner mirror that decides it. And once you truly grasp this principle, you'll stop wasting energy trying to fix the mirror. You'll turn your attention back to adjusting your real face. You'll start choosing new beliefs, new attitudes, new emotions. Slowly, the reflected world will change. More opportunities, more love, more peace. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Picture life for a moment as a room full of mirrors. As you walk, countless reflections walk with you. You smile, and countless images smile back. You cry, and countless images cry too. The mirror doesn't do anything extra. It only multiplies whatever you already carry inside. So the real question becomes, what do you want that mirrored room to echo back? The world as a mirror is a principle both simple and profound. Once you understand it, you stop searching for power outside yourself. You realize all change starts from within. And once you know how to adjust your inner world, the mirror will faithfully reflect a brand new reality. From that moment forward, you're no longer a victim of the world. You become the creator, the one who actively shapes the reflection you want to see. And so, every day you live becomes a chance to look into the mirror and adjust it. Every experience, pleasant or hard, becomes a reminder that the mirror never lies. And when you dare to step forward and change what's inside you, the mirror of life will reflect back an image that's brighter, freer, and more complete. There's an invisible current running through all of life, a rhythm no one sees, but every living thing follows. It's the breath of the universe. The earth orbits the sun, the moon orbits the earth. Tides rise and fall, seasons change, all of it breathes in unison. Even inside your own body, every inhale, every exhale is woven into that same secret rhythm. You aren't separate from it. You're a small stream inside the vast ocean of breath. Notice this. When a baby is born, its first act is to breathe in, and when a person passes on, their final act is breathing out. Between those two moments, a whole lifetime gets stitched together by countless breaths. Yet most of the time, you breathe without thinking about it, as if you were handed a golden key and simply forgot it in your pocket, never using it. In truth, breath is the bridge connecting you to the rhythm of the cosmos. When you return to your breath, you return to the ancient current that has pulsed since the beginning of time. The ancients understood that breathing wasn't just about keeping the body alive. It unlocked deeper layers of awareness. In caves, monasteries, and silent deserts, they practiced breathwork the way you'd master a musical instrument. Because when the breath changes, the mind changes. When the breath is deep and steady, fear dissolves, and the mind grows clear. When the breath is fast and uneven, the heart feels unsettled, and the outside world seems chaotic. Breath is the melody, and reality is the music born from it. What's remarkable is that every form of life follows this same principle of inhale and exhale. The earth breathes by soaking up sunlight during the day and releasing darkness at night. The oceans breathe with the rhythm of the tides. Even far-off stars expand and contract in cycles. The universe breathes constantly, and you're part of that breath. When your breathing lines up with the cosmic rhythm, you instantly reconnect to an infinite source of energy. This secret rhythm is also the source of creativity. Every idea, every insight, every revelation shows up in the stillness between two breaths. As you inhale, you receive. As you exhale, you release. And in that fleeting moment between the two, your mind touches perfect stillness, where nothing is off limits, where anything feels possible. That's exactly where the seed of creation gets planted. Have you noticed how you hold your breath when you're anxious? How you breathe fast when you're scared? how your breath goes slow and gentle when you're at peace. Your breath always mirrors your inner state, but it also works in reverse. Change your breath, and your inner world shifts along with it. Few people believe this secret until they experience it for themselves. One slow inhale, one complete exhale, can transform your entire mood. From panic, you return to peace. From doubt, you return to trust. And from that state, you start attracting a more harmonious reality. Picture the universe as one vast ocean, and you are the wave. A wave can't exist apart from the ocean, just as you can't live apart from the breath of the cosmos. When you forget this rhythm, you feel small and lost. But when you remember, you realize you were never separate at all. Every breath you take is the universe breathing through you, giving you life, energy, and the rhythm of creation. There's a great secret hidden inside your breath. It's the conductor orchestrating your whole body. Your heart, your brain, your nervous system all tune themselves to your breath. When you breathe deeply, your heart rate steadies, your brain waves fall into rhythm, and your whole body settles into balance. This isn't just physiology, it's resonance with the secret rhythm that has pulsed since the birth of the cosmos. A body in balance is the foundation every dream is built on. Breath is also a bridge between two opposites. Inhale is receiving, exhale is letting go. One side is life, the other is death. One is a beginning, the other an ending. And inside the cycle you learn that life is never a straight line. It's an endless spiral, where every loss opens space for new receiving. This secret rhythm of the universe teaches you that lesson with every single breath. Try pausing right now and bringing your attention to your own breathing. Don't change it, just watch it. You'll realize you're not breathing only for yourself. You're breathing in air gifted by the trees and breathing out nourishment that sustains them. You're taking part in the endless circle of life, and once you become aware of this, you stop feeling separate. You become one note inside a grand symphony where the universe is the musician and you're the melody echoing through space. This cosmic breath is the hidden heartbeat behind everything that happens. When you fight it, you get tired. When you merge with it, you're lifted up. You can't stop the ocean from rising, but you can learn to ride its waves. You can't stop the wind, but you can raise your sails and go further. It's the same with breath. It flows without end, and when you flow with it, you discover freedom, strength, and your true path. Once you grasp this secret, you'll understand why so many spiritual traditions treat breath as the shortest path back to the source. Because the moment you listen to your breath, you sync with the rhythm of the universe. You don't need to wait for the future or dig through the past. In this very moment, every breath is guiding you home, back to the center where peace, wisdom, and power have always lived. And from that place you return to the world no longer swept along by the current, but living in step with this secret rhythm. You become the wave lined up with the ocean, your breath in harmony with the breath of the cosmos. And that's the deepest freedom there is, not to be separate, but to know you're breathing along with the whole. There's an invisible force running through every human being, as strong as the Earth's own magnetic field, and it decides how the world moves around you. This force isn't found in muscle or in logical intelligence. It lives deep in the spirit. It's the magnetism of consciousness, a vibrational field you give off from your own inner state. When your spiritual magnetism is strong and steady, you don't need to chase anything down. What's meant for you finds its way to you. And the secret to building this magnetism lies in something that seems soft: stillness. Look at nature. The earth is silent, yet its gravitational pull is strong enough to hold the moon in orbit, hold every drop of ocean water, support all living things. The sun moves unhurried, yet its magnetic field shapes the entire solar system. Real strength doesn't come from noise. It comes from something stable, silent, and steady. In the same way, a mind that knows stillness generates a powerful magnetism that draws in people, opportunities, and circumstances without ever needing to compete. Modern people are used to noise, the noise of information, comparison, desire. In all that chaos, spiritual magnetism weakens, like a magnet thrown off balance, losing its orientation. But when you dare to step into stillness, even for a few minutes, your energy field starts to realign. Stillness is the space where energy gathers, where your inner magnetism gets restored. And the deeper you go into stillness, the more you realize you aren't small. You're the center of a pull, where reality begins to revolve around you. Here's a paradox. The more you try to grab hold of something, the more it seems to slip away. But when you surrender into stillness, spiritual magnetism naturally rises. Just like a still lake best reflects a clear sky, only a calm mind can accurately mirror what it truly wants. And once that image becomes clear in stillness, your inner magnetism starts pulling it into reality. A lot of people mistake stillness for passivity, for hiding from life. But the truth is the opposite. Stillness is the source of raw energy, the place where all power is reborn. When you sit in silence, you're not running away from the world. You're taking back energy that was scattered in every direction. You become like a magnet restored to its proper poles, regaining the strength to steer the current of your life. From there, you're no longer dust blown around by the wind. You become the center point, giving off your own pull, causing the wind itself to circle around you. Remember, spiritual magnetism can't be faked. It doesn't come from polished words or a good appearance, but from your genuine inner state. Someone can dress elegantly, speak fluently, but if their inner world is chaotic, their energy field stays weak. On the other hand, someone might sit quietly in silence, without any display at all, and their presence still shifts the whole room. That's a magnetism nobody can fake, because it's born from authentic stillness. In stillness, you reconnect with your origin. You hear a beat deeper than your own heartbeat. You feel the current nourishing every cell in your body, and from that place, an unshakable steadiness is born. You stop being swayed by praise or blame, gain or loss. You stop getting swept away by passing storms. You stand still like a pillar in the middle of the current, and it's that exact stillness that becomes the most powerful attraction of all. Everything seeks out places of order, stability, and abundant energy. Here's something fascinating. The universe doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to certainty. When you want something so badly that you become restless, you send out a signal of lack, and that lack keeps reflecting back to you. But when you sit in stillness, confident that what you want already belongs to you, your spiritual magnetism sends out a signal of wholeness. And it's that wholeness that attracts even more. The universe resonates with fullness, not with scarcity. To nourish your spiritual magnetism, you don't need to change everything overnight. Start with small moments of stillness, a few minutes away from your phone, a few deep breaths, a few silent seconds looking up at the sky. In those moments, you're helping your inner magnet regain its balance. Little by little, your energy field grows stronger. And once it's strong enough, you stop needing to seek anything out. You become the destination itself. Spiritual magnetism doesn't just draw in what you want, it also pushes away what isn't meant for you. Like two matching poles of a magnet pushing each other apart, mismatched energy simply can't stick to you. When your mind is clear and at peace, toxic relationships, false opportunities, and hollow temptations naturally fade away. You don't need to fight them off. Your frequency is already too high for lower vibrations to hold on to. In the end, understand this. The greatest power doesn't come from noise. It comes from stillness. In noise, you're easily swept away. In stillness, you find your center, and from that center, you give off spiritual magnetism, a strong, steady field that attracts exactly what's meant for you. It's a power that needs no struggle, no shouting, and yet it compels the whole world to listen. Once you learn to live in stillness, you'll see that you no longer need to chase the light, because you've become the source of it. You no longer need to seek recognition, because your presence alone is magnetic. and you no longer need to search for strength because it has always been sitting quietly, deep in your own soul. It's in that seemingly empty space where infinite energy lives, where your spiritual magnetism is born and begins to shine. Inside every human being lives a region of darkness, a space holding fear, wounds, anger, and the parts of ourselves we once tried to deny. This darkness isn't the enemy. It's raw material for change. Just like an alchemist looks at a plain metal and sees the potential for gold, your soul can look into its own darkness and turn it into light. The alchemy of the soul isn't about running from the dark. It's about stepping into it, embracing it, and turning it into spiritual strength. Darkness shows up in many forms. It might be a painful memory you don't want to think about, a whisper of self-criticism playing on repeat in your head, or the fear of rejection keeping you from living honestly. Often people try to bury these things, like stuffing something ugly into a locked, dark room. But what's buried doesn't disappear. It keeps giving off energy quietly, shaping your life through invisible ghosts. Only when you dare to open that door does light pour in, and healing begins. Picture a blacksmith. To forge a sharp blade, he has to put raw ore into the fire and endure the heat and relentless hammering. In the same way, your soul only truly shines once its darkness has been placed into the furnace of awareness. Pain becomes raw material, anger becomes fuel, and through the fire, everything gets forged into strength. That's why darkness isn't the end. It's the gateway to something higher. There's real energy locked inside darkness because it's compressed, forgotten matter. When you transform it, you release the power that was once trapped, like unchaining a river and letting it flood freely. Someone who has endured deep suffering can, once they learn to transform it, become a light for other people. Someone who fell into despair and found their way through can come out with the power to heal entire communities. Without darkness, light would lose its depth. Without pain, your strength would never fully mature. The key is changing how you see it. Instead of treating darkness as the enemy, treat it like a strict teacher. It forces you to face yourself, to grow, to find strength you never knew you had. Fear is just a signal, inviting you past your comfort zone. Wounds are the universe's way of showing you exactly where healing is needed. Anger is a reminder that your soul is still longing for truth and fairness. The alchemy of the soul begins with courage, the courage to sit in silence and face what you once ran from. When you stop running, darkness loses its power, the same way a shadow only exists when your back is turned to the light. Once you turn to face the light directly, the shadow disappears. That first step is always confrontation, because that act alone is half of the whole transformation. The next step is offering the darkness love. It might sound backwards, but this is the secret of soul alchemy. When you hold your wounded parts with compassion, you stop fighting them and start healing instead. A hurt child doesn't need punishment, it needs to be heard. A wound doesn't need to be torn open, it needs light and care. In the same way, the dark parts of you dissolve only once they're accepted. When love enters darkness, transformation begins. Anger becomes the fuel for positive action. Fear turns into sensitivity and caution. Pain becomes deep empathy. Every part that once made you feel ashamed becomes the brightest jewel on your journey. The soul never wastes raw material. It only recycles and upgrades it. There are people who've walked through deep darkness and become living proof of the soul's alchemy. They've fallen, lost all faith. But in their darkest nights, they found their inner light. And once they came out the other side, they were never the same. Their light became steadier, deeper, more radiant. They didn't just save themselves, they became a flame guiding others. You carry that same ability too. There's no darkness vast enough to trap the eternal light living inside you. No pain strong enough to outweigh your power to heal. The only question is whether you have the courage to step into the furnace and let the alchemy begin, or whether you'll keep burying it and let the darkness quietly rule instead. Once you understand and practice the alchemy of the soul, you'll realize nothing is ever wasted. Every tear becomes a river of wisdom. Every scar becomes proof of strength. Every dark night becomes a lantern lighting the road ahead. And in the end, you'll see it was the darkness that helped you discover your most brilliant light. This is real freedom, when you no longer fear the dark, because you know you can transform it. When you no longer despise your imperfections, because you see them only as gold still waiting to be refined. At that moment, your soul becomes an endless alchemical furnace, turning every challenge into opportunity, every wound into strength, every shadow into light. And this is the path to living whole, no longer separating light from dark, but merging them into one powerful, unshakable self. That's when you become the alchemist of your own soul, the one who turns everything they touch into the pure gold of wisdom and love. There's one final power that every civilization, every wise sage, and every spiritual journey eventually seeks to touch: the power of an unbreakable mind. Unbreakable not because it never faces hardship, but because no matter how fierce the storm gets, it stays steady, clear, and free. This kind of mind is the doorway to the infinite, where every limit dissolves, and you realize you're not bound by anything except the barriers you once believed were real. This unbreakable mind isn't a gift given to a chosen few. It's a hidden ability inside every single person. Everyone has had moments that prove this, facing a hardship you thought was impossible, and still moving forward, losing something, and finding light again anyway, falling and getting back up. In those moments, you've already touched the edge of this unbreakable mind. The real question isn't whether you've felt it. It's how to actually step fully into that infinite space and live from within it. Picture a warrior walking across a battlefield. He isn't undefeated because nobody attacks him. He's undefeated because no arrow can reach the soul underneath. His body might take wounds, but his will is never conquered. This unbreakable mind works the same way. It doesn't promise a life free of challenges. It guarantees those challenges no longer have the power to define who you are. And once you stand in that state, life stops threatening you. It becomes a playground for creation. The door to the infinite opens the moment you understand one simple truth. Every limitation starts in the mind. If you believe you're bound, you'll live as though you're chained. But once you know that no real chains exist, even the most solid-looking barriers become illusions. This isn't self-deception. It's a principle proven again and again throughout history. Those who were once trapped in the harshest conditions, yet whose minds stayed free, creative, and loving, are living proof this unbreakable mind is real. What makes the mind unbreakable isn't rigid stubbornness. It's endless flexibility. Like water, when it meets an obstacle, it doesn't break. It bends, it flows, and patiently carves its way through stone. An unbreakable mind knows how to move like water, not stubborn, not clinging, but never stopping. And that flexibility becomes a force nothing can destroy. Look at your own life. How many times have you thought, "I can't go on," and yet you did? How many times did you believe you'd hit your absolute limit, only to find new energy, new faith? That's proof your mind is far bigger than you ever gave it credit for. And with every breakthrough, you don't just move further. You're training your mind to become unbreakable. Here's the core of it. The unbreakable mind doesn't fight the world. It changes the way it sees the world. Instead of viewing hardship as an enemy, it sees a test. Instead of seeing loss as an ending, it sees a beginning. Instead of seeing darkness as danger, it sees raw material for light. In every single situation, it finds a door. And that shift in perspective turns every obstacle into a stepping stone, every barrier into a pathway. Someone might ask, how do we actually reach that state? The answer isn't found in gathering more knowledge. It's found in freeing yourself from illusion. When you stop believing so heavily in your own weakness, when you stop thinking the world is against you, when you stop believing you're limited, that's when the mind starts to free itself. And bit by bit, it becomes steady, until nothing can shake it anymore. The simplest practice is learning how to stay still in the middle of a storm. When hardship hits, instead of reacting in a rush, pause, breathe, and observe. The storm may keep raging outside, but if your mind stays as calm as a still lake, you'll see paths other people can't. That's the real difference an unbreakable mind makes. Not avoiding the storm, but seeing clearly right in the middle of it. And once you enter this state, something remarkable happens. The world responds differently, because when you no longer tremble, hardship stops feeling so threatening. When you no longer panic, problems start to dissolve. When you stop viewing everything through a lens of limitation, the door to the infinite swings open in front of you. And every step you take, instead of feeling weighed down by chains, becomes a free stride across a wide open path. In the end, an unbreakable mind isn't flawless, and it doesn't mean you never fail. It's the ability to rise again and again. It's the trust that even in the deepest darkness, light still remains. It's the certainty that no matter how many times you fall, you always have one more beginning left in you. And when your mind reaches that kind of steadiness, you step into the infinite, where every barrier turns out to be an illusion, and real power has always been sitting right in your own hands. This unbreakable mind is the door to the infinite, and once you walk through it, you're no longer someone controlled by circumstance. You become the one who shapes circumstance. You stop fearing the dark because you use it as raw material. You're no longer held back by chains because chains dissolve the moment your belief becomes unshakable. And in that moment, you understand the great truth. You were never weak. You had simply forgotten the infinite strength that had belonged to you all along. So out of everything we covered today, which idea hit you the hardest? The mirror, the threshold, the flame, or something else entirely? Drop it in the comments. I'd genuinely love to know. And if this gave you something to think about, share it with someone who needs to hear it too. Thanks for spending this time with me. See you in the next one.